Hey, what's up, ghouls and gals? Today, I am upset because my last video was supposed to be up already. It was a full movie review deep dive of Bad Dreams from 1988, a film that is often compared to A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, and I am upset because the video is blocked worldwide, globally right now, and no one can see it. So that was going to be the start to Cult Horror Movie Review Week. Hopefully that gets unblocked, but in the meantime, I am going to put it up for free on my Patreon if you would like to just watch the video, and the movie is up on my $2 tier. So that's where I'm going to start this video with a little rant. Today's video was actually about a film that I hated with my entire being. I don't think I ever felt such disdain for a film. The Empty Man really upset me in 2020. Alex and I spent my birthday in 2020 watching The Empty Man. I felt like it was such a waste of my time. But I also don't feel like I gave it the time. And if that makes sense, I feel like I didn't like it, so I wasn't giving myself to it, if you will. But we're going to get more on that in just a minute. I liked The Empty Man this time around. And that's why I kind of wanted to do a redemption review, because this movie truly is so layered and scary. I still hate it for the runtime, but it is a much better movie on second. I shouldn't even use the word hate because I don't hate this movie anymore. Let's begin. Like I said, today we are talking about The Empty Man from 2020. This film is directed by David Pryor. This comes in at 2 hours and 17 minutes, a runtime that does feel kind of unnecessary. We're gonna break down more of the plot because I feel like I needed a guide the first time I saw this film. But before I get into this, let me just thank my patrons once again for supporting this kind of content. And if you watch me over on Patreon, you get movies, you get extra things, reactions, fun stuff over there. But it's just a way to support the channel and get something back in return. So I have to thank those of you who are supporting me over there, especially because my content does get blocked and copywritten so frequently. I do this for the love of making videos and for the love of horror, and I just would rather people watch the videos than, like, I want you guys to be able to see this kind of content. So like I mentioned, my Bad Dreams review is up for free over there right now. And if you would like to see any more of me or support the channel any further, you can check out all of my links down below. Let's get back into The Empty Man. I genuinely, the first time we watched this, we finished the movie and I felt so dissatisfied. I felt like I was watching such a disjointed film. I felt like I just, like I said, wasted my time. And since then, I had been thinking of, like, this film had like lived in the recesses of my brain, because I was thinking, this is a film that I genuinely feel could have more potential if I just gave it some distance and rewatched it a few years later. And we waited 5 years, almost 5 full years, to revisit The Empty Man. And I am glad that I distanced myself from the film. I'm glad that I didn't research anything, watch anything. I just went in with fresh eyes. I felt like with a clean slate, and I really let the movie sink in, and it's a lot better on second watch than I initially thought, especially for a film dealing with a cult. You don't normally get a film so layered. You get, oh, like, we are here, we are in the cult, we are not with the cult any longer, if you're picking up what I'm laying down. But this one is just, it feels like you are in it, if that makes any sense. This was actually filmed in 2017 and wasn't released until 2020. I kind of feel like the fact that this film was released in the middle of the pandemic when everybody was kind of at home did get more eyes on it, and I don't know if that was a good or bad thing. But the film is actually based on a graphic novel, but the movie really doesn't stick to the source material as much as you would think. There is a 22-minute prologue opening sequence before we get any title card, anything. We are just kind of put into this opening sequence where you feel like it's almost unrelated to the film. And for all these years, I did think it was completely unrelated. But in saying that, it does technically stand alone as a great short film. But people saw it having a more ambitious narrative and having more interesting themes, and I guess that's why the horror community gravitated more towards it. Alright, let's dive into the plot. Like I mentioned, we follow James Lasombra, a former detective grieving the death of his wife and child. When his friend Nora's daughter Amanda mysteriously disappears, James investigates and uncovers a sinister urban legend connected to Amanda's disappearance. The legend involves the Empty Man, a supernatural entity said to appear if you perform a ritual involving a bottle on a bridge. After Amanda disappears, James uncovers the Pontifex Institute, a cult that believes the Empty Man is a conduit to higher consciousness. James's investigation leads him to these chilling discoveries. Are you ready? Amanda and her friends summoned the Empty Man by blowing into a bottle on a bridge. The Empty Man is tied to a Tibetan figure known as the Tulpa, which is a manifestation of collective thought or meditation, and it's bigger than just a cult. And James discovers that he may not be who he thinks he is. He was created by the cult to serve as a vessel for the Empty Man, which was a crazy revelation for me on the second watch. And the film ends with James realizing he's been a puppet for the cult's larger goal of summoning the Empty Man into its physical form the whole time. And I don't know, it's just the way the story is crafted. It's almost 2 hours, and if I were to do a whole breakdown, we would be here forever. But those are the highlights. And the film deals with grief and loss in a lot of ways, where James's emotional state almost makes him an easy target for the manipulation of the Pontifex Institute. Which, don't worry, we're gonna get into, because I feel like that's a crazy term that I'm just throwing at you. And the film also deals with themes of existentialism, identity, just all the good stuff. Even reality and consciousness and whether free will truly exists, which I feel is almost Black Mirror-esque, and we are getting a new season of Black Mirror. Are you guys excited? The film also explores urban legends and thought manifestation. I mentioned the term tulpas. This is a Tibetan term, and it's pretty much the idea that belief can give life to an entity, almost through a collective consciousness. And the Pontifex Institute as a whole pretty much uses this theme of tulpas and the collective consciousness to try and channel the Empty Man. And they really do represent the dangers of blind faith and putting all of your eggs in one basket into something that is not good. Okay, let's talk about the Pontifex Institute, because I keep saying that, and you guys are probably like, if you haven't seen this film, like, what the hell is that? But this is Cult Horror Movie Week, so let's dive into the cult. The Pontifex Institute is a secretive cult that worships the Empty Man as a vessel for higher understanding. They believe the Empty Man is a bridge between human consciousness and an alternate dimension or higher state of being. The cult's goal is to create a vessel, who is James, inevitably, to host the Empty Man and bring about this higher connection. They use meditative trances, thought manipulation, and almost the collective consciousness theory that I talked about with tulpas, and they're trying to manifest the Empty Man into reality, and that is such a scary thought. It's almost like, you know in Hereditary when they say Annie, if you guys have seen Hereditary, it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. When they say Annie's brother killed himself because his mother kept trying to put bodies or people into his body, I feel like that's almost what the Empty Man, like, I feel like that's almost what the cult in the Empty Man is trying to do. But let's quickly move into the opening scene. Like I mentioned, it's a 22-minute, almost a folk horror-esque scene that feels kind of unrelated to the film, but it is totally related to the film. The prologue is set in the remote mountains of Bhutan. A group of 4 hikers led by Paul. Now, Paul is a very important guy here. They stumble upon a mysterious skeleton embedded in a cave wall. I would have noped the absolute F out of there, but when Paul hears strange whispers, he decides to sit cross-legged before the skeleton, becoming almost catatonic. His friends have to carry him back to a remote cabin where more strange events unfold. But Paul becomes the empty vessel for the Empty Man. He whispers ominous things and eventually causes 2 of his friends to die. He starts whispering ominous things like, if you touch me, you will die, and just things like that. And 2 people end up dying. But Paul is the original Empty Man vessel. He establishes the film's lore on how the Empty Man needs a host to be able to manifest into the physical world, and I hate that. The events in Bhutan in the beginning of the film pretty much kick off all of the ideas and plans for the Pontifex Institute. After Paul became the Empty Man's vessel, the cult formed around harnessing this power through collective thoughts and rituals between them all. But the cult needed a new body after Paul's deteriorated, naturally, he's only human, which leads them into creating James. He's not real. He was actually created through collective consciousness and thought by the Pontifex Institute for the Empty Man. He has no real memories. Everything is just kind of generic and planted in his brain so that he can exist and be this vessel for this new, just, it's so layered. And I mean, I get it. The prologue, the opening, it does feel very connected. It's not geographically set where the main story is located, but it is important and it connects the lore. But you can really see in the beginning where Paul's possession, all the deaths, everything before the title card even happens, that really, it feels like a self-contained 22-minute short horror that really does have you on the edge of your seat. It's a very strong opening. It's just kind of jarring because it is so long. It's so crazy to think, I mean, I know that none of this is real, but like in Paul's founding and his like emptying of his body, becoming a vessel, having all of that happen, decaying, and then James being created and used for the Empty Man, and that'll happen to him eventually. He will decay and have nothing left for him, and then someone else will be thought up and manifested, and new fake memories will be implanted, and he'll be on the hunt for who the Empty Man is, only to find out that he is the Empty Man himself. It isn't that just such a crazy cycle? I feel like I could talk a lot more about this film because it is so rich and so layered and so, I guess the runtime is, I don't want to say a 2-hour runtime is deserved, but I feel like if this movie was just under 2 hours, if some of the fat was trimmed in the middle parts perhaps, it would have been a more contained, right to the point story. Sometimes a horror movie with a runtime of over 2, like when you're giving that runtime, you better be promising a lot. Like The Substance has an over 2-hour runtime, but that movie doesn't even feel like it's 2 hours because once we get into it, we are bing bang boom, Bob's your uncle, it's the end, and we are Monster Eliza Zoo, you know? But I really am glad that I gave this film a second chance and a deeper look because it really has lingered with me all these years. And I feel like it really did make a lasting impact on me. And if that's what their goal was with The Empty Man, I feel like they wormed their way into my brain and I can't stop thinking about it. Like, we truly were dreading watching this again leading up to this, because I had planned this out for a little while that we were going to revisit this for Cult Horror Movie Week. I kept telling Alex, be prepared, we are going to be watching The Empty Man this year, and every time it was, no, can we watch anything else, please, please? But we both kind of changed our mind on this, and it wasn't a waste of time. It was a very solid watch, and I'm very happy that we dove deeper into a fantastic cult film. So let me know your thoughts on The Empty Man down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Oh, do you want to rewatch it after watching this video? I'm sorry if things were a little jumbled. I feel very scatterbrained after I just feel very discouraged after having my last video blocked. My last deep dive, my side character deep dive, was blocked. The block was just released after 2 full weeks yesterday, so my Glenn and Glenda video is finally up for the world to see. I don't know, it just feels a little disheartening, but like I said, I'm going to put the Bad Dreams video over on my Patreon because it needs a home. I want you guys to be able to watch it. I will leave it linked down below so you can see it. Next month is Body Horror Review Week here, so I know for sure I want to talk about Body Melt, so we'll discuss later on. I'm also thinking about my next video being a documentaries having to do with cults video, because we kind of missed out on having a full cult horror week here. So let me know your thoughts down below. I will see you guys very soon. Don't forget, if you would like physical media sent to you for completely free of charge, check out my last physical media haul to see how. Now that I've talked your ear off for longer than I was planning on, I will see you guys very soon. Sayonara, Spooky fam.